Teachers, we can start. Teachers, we can start.
Teachers, we can start.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone.
Before we start, I would just like to tell you that our last guest, Dr. Chitin, has some emergency, so she will be joining us after 15 minutes. But in the meanwhile, we will start the show. Good morning, Sister Sunita, a community leader, Sister Anita, our principal, sisters of the community, esteemed guests, ex-students, teachers, parents, and my dear students. Loreto Convent Darjeeling has been carrying out the legacy of Mary Ward for 175 years. And to commemorate this milestone today, we have invited a few distinguished guests who are very closely associated with the school for this talk show, Nostalgia, where they will be reminiscing about their days in Loreto. Before we start the show, I would like to introduce myself and my co-host. I am Ms. Prajwalika Bharati, and my co-host is Mrs. Sumnima Chetri. We will now begin with a prayer. Over to you, Ms. Chetri.
Thank you, Ms. Prajwalika. So let us pray. Dear God, thank you for your amazing power and work in our lives. Thank you for your goodness and for your blessing over us. Thank you that you are able to bring hope through even the toughest of times, strengthening us for your purposes. Thank you for your great love and care. Thank you for your mercy and grace. Thank you that you're always with us and will never leave us. Forgive us for when we don't thank you enough, for who you are, for all that you do, for all that you've given. Help us to set our eyes and our hearts on you afresh. Renew our spirit, fill us with your peace and joy. We love you and we need you, this day and every day. We give you praise and thanks, for you alone are worthy. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Chetri. Mary Ward, the foundress of the Institute of the Blessed Virgin Mary, was a pioneer in the field of education. She foresaw the need for a sound religious and moral education for young women who would assume responsibility in society. Her conviction was that women in time to come will do much. Loreto education today follows the goals set by Mary Ward, that incomparable woman who saw integrity, justice, freedom, and love as essential qualities for any person. I would now like to introduce our guests. We have with us Sisatina Ferris, Mrs. Lalita Tamung, Mrs. Sonali Lahiri, and Dr. Chitin D. Sherpa, who will be joining us in some time. Thank you all for accepting our invitation. We are honored to have you with us today. Our first guest is Sisatina Ferris. Sisatina, as many of our ex-students and teachers will remember, was in Loreto Darjeeling 3 times. Sisatina Ferris first came to Darjeeling as a young sister in 1969. She was here as the mistress of schools. However, that was not the only time Sister was here in Darjeeling. She came back to Darjeeling in 1988, and that was when Loreto closed its boarding and became a day school. Sister came to Darjeeling for the 3rd time in 1993 as the principal. After she left Darjeeling, Sister was the principal of the college in Calcutta for 14 years, from 1995 to 2009. Sister was the superior and community leader in Loreto Shillong, Loreto House, and Loreto Entilly. She was also responsible for the training of novices. Sister is now enjoying her retired life in Ranchi. Thank you, Sister, for accepting the invitation. We are honored to have you with us today. Good morning, Sister. Sister, you might have to unmute yourself.
Good morning, Rajlika.
Thank you, Sister. Should we begin, Sister?
Sure.
Okay. Sister, since you were here for 3 terms, we would like you to share your experiences and memories with us.
Sister Sunila, first of all, Sister Anita, sisters, teachers, thank you for inviting me to share my memories. It's a tall order because the last time I worked in Darjeeling was 21 years ago, and it's 52 years since I was first in Darjeeling, not as Sister Tina, but Sister David. But my time in Darjeeling has left its mark on my heart and somehow started me on my journey with young people. I would like to quote from Laudato Si, which you're already familiar with, where Pope Francis says, "The history of our friendship with God is always linked to a particular place, which take on intensity of feeling. We all remember places and revisiting those memories, for they do us much good. Going back to those places is a time to renew ourselves. And that is what's happened to me since Sister Anita requested me to be here. I thought, what will I do? But I would like to congratulate you also on this very fitting and beautiful theme. Remember, renew, and reach out. It couldn't have been more apt. Remember for me was not just the beauty of Darjeeling. Coming up those hills, I'd been in Simla, but Darjeeling has a different beauty. There's a grandeur there, and it reminded me of Gerard Manley Hopkins all the time, a poet I loved so well. The world is charged with the grandeur of God. Yes, it was the beauty of this place. And I want to say also, we have started with Mary Ward, but the children of those days and even the sisters, we didn't know much about Mary Ward. So that's how far back I go, because she had not come into her own yet in our institute in India or in the IBVM. But I want to say also, it's people that made me. I remember terrified. I was young, wondering how on earth I'm going to manage. But when I came up, there were all these women, wonderful religious, which those of past pupils of bygone years will remember. Ledwina, Damien, Baptista, Francis Teresa, Dolores, Raphael, just to mention a few. And my companions who are closer to me were in age, shall I say, were Joan, Rosario from St. Teresa's in our community, and Lucy. All gone now, except Lucy, who's in Ireland. I was the youngest and the junior most. Those sisters were, I'm telling you, strict, but never harsh. I remember Mother Antoinette meeting me on that big dormitory, which is now classrooms. She lived in a little room off there, and she'd say to me, "Dear little David, you're doing very well." But what made Darjeeling for me was the children of those days. Sonali was the little one with her sister, and hordes of little ones. Sister Joan had them. We had a big boarding school, but we lived on the crest of the hill. of the wave. They'll tell you today I was strict. Yes, I was, because I was terrified. And you teachers know yourselves that when you're terrified, you're more strict. But as time went on, those youngsters, especially the seniors, became my friends. I remember further on the Andolan. And in those days, Sister Sabrina and Geraldine were in school. Geraldine was a boarder. Academics was very important as well. I loved being a teacher, and I taught English for the ICSE as mistress of schools. And I'm sure Geraldine won't mind my sharing this little anecdote with you. I didn't know it because you never remember what you've done. And I didn't know where to look when she told me. She was a little girl in the hostel with two little plats. Your sister Geraldine, who was superior there and principal. And she said that I'd given them an assignment before the ISC exams, before they signed. And she didn't do so well. So I called her and I said, Geraldine, if this is your best, then I cannot send you up for the ICSE. And if it is not your best, you should be ashamed of yourself. And she said she picked herself up and went on from there. Those children, those boarders, I'd love to mention them all, but they are legion. And it's amazing how their names keep coming back to me. I will mention two whom you will have known. First of all was a boarder, Chuki Tobden from Sikkim. She died in sad circumstances. Chuki did a lot for us when we were opening in Sadam. But her brother was the DC in Gantok, and she was a wonderful girl. I met her in Calcutta just before she died in an accident. But she worked for people, and she worked for the empowerment of women, a child of those days. And the other one is, you may have heard or may not have heard, she was a day student. Her name was Shukla Bose, and she has started an NGO called Pakri Kerma Humanity Foundation, and it's a marvelous thing if you get into it. I'm so proud of them. Loreto is proud of them. But I will go on quickly to the next one, reach out. Mary Ward said, though we didn't know Mary Ward, we didn't know this then, to love the poor, to live and die with them was all the aim of Mary Ward. And today, gradually over these years, in my third time, we had a neighborhood school, the boarding school was closed. We had empowerment of women, and you know how they've gone. In those days, we collect the toilet requisites, stationery, and huge card boxes, older counterpanes for Entally. I have wonderful memories of those days. Those girls, those early girls, especially of 1969 and later, I have to mention among people the Mrs. Edwards, Mrs. Plant, later on Mr. Rinch, Mr. Oja, and later Nima, Lalita, many of them. I don't want to hurt people by putting out names. I could mention the whole lot, but time low. And those girls, they are the days of that time, spearheaded the alumni. They love their schools. They're grandmothers today, but today they are sisters to each other. And you'd wonder what this school gave them. I could go on, but I have to give way to others. The memories, as I say, just keep rushing up, but it was a beautiful time of my life. Rajvalika, I think
Yes, sister.
Memories are finished now. They are
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for sharing such lovely memories, sister. Sister, let's move ahead with another question. Since you've spent a considerable amount of time in Darjeeling, we would love for you to share your views on Darjeeling and its people.
That's, again, an extraordinary question, Because how can I share my views when I've loved a place? It's like asking you to share your views on your family. I loved Darjeeling. I loved the people. But I have to confess that I saw a change over the years, not of the people in their spirits. The first time I came, that bank in front of the house was beautiful. Nature was there. We had these huge bushes of hydrangeas. The little ones used to sit there and roll down. But later on, after all the earthquakes and the buildings and the structures, that has gone. And when I came back the second and third time, I saw that outside our gates, uh, people weren't cared for. The place wasn't cared for. It wasn't as clean. But that did not take away my love for Darjeeling. All I had to do was that lovely hymn that we sang often in those days. I lift up my eyes to the mountains, and they never changed. So I pray that then. As for the people, as I said in the beginning before we started, beautiful people. But there was a sadness in me during that Andolan that went on for so long, because I said that this is going to have missed my love for people or Darjeeling.
Sister.
Thank you, sister.
Sister, and the last
Sister,
question.
and the last question.
What message would you like to
What
give the
message would you
present
like to
staff
give the present
and
staff
students
and
of
students
Loreto
of Loreto
Darjeeling?
Darjeeling?
My last question would be this: your work, whether it's patience, and suddenly you realize that you have arrived. I'd like to quote from the prophet Jeremiah, because sometimes there's a tendency to think that the past doesn't matter. Jeremiah says, stand at the crossroads and look. Ask for the ancient paths where the good way lies. Take it, walk on it, and you will have peace. A future can only be born with the conjunction of the old and the young. And I quote from another Argentinian poet, where you'll also find it. I forget which book I read it in. At the end of it all, I have understood that what on the tree flowers lives from what is buried. We need roots and wings. Each generation has to look back and look forward and take it a little higher. But recently, and I'm saying this very strongly, we heard in JPIC when we had that beautiful presentation and talk with the children, the term came up of integral ecology. And this integral ecology, I would say, all of us must live, whether we are staff, whether we are sisters, whether we are children. And what does it mean? It means care for for nature, because that is our common home. God created it, but just as much care for your fellow human beings, whoever they are, transcend differences. Each of us belong to one common human family. And my last bit is this. And again, you'll know that I love poetry and I love quoting because it speaks to my heart and it'll speak to yours. T.S. Eliot says, we shall not cease from exploration. At the end of all our exploring will be to arrive at where we started and see the place for the first time. So while you celebrate your 175 years, I know that you see the place for the first time. And last of all, you'll take it to heights. And I'm quoting now from our Mary Ward. She wrote this Institutum 1, which is at the beginning of our constitutions, which is our rules. And she described, and I use her words, what we have to do even while we are sisters and have the spirit of Loreto. First of all, I quote, education of girls and unlettered persons, giving them education in schools, seeking out profligate women, reconcile the estranged, compassionately assist and serve those who are in prisons and hospitals, and any other works of charity. We are doing the same according to the times and circumstances, but it is Mary Ward guiding us all along the way. God bless you, and may Darjeeling and Loreto Convent Darjeeling, its children, its teachers, and its sisters, just get to heights after 25 years, where you'll have your 200-year Jubilee. God bless you.
Thank you so much for
Thank
your
you
lovely
so much for
message,
your lovely
sister.
message, sister.
It was a pleasure to
It was a
have you with
pleasure to
us
have
today.
you with us today.
And now my
And now
co-host,
my
Mrs.
co-host,
Sunima
Mrs.
Chetty, will
Sunima
take
Chetty,
over
will
to
take
interview
over to
Mrs.
interview
Lalita
Mrs.
Thomas.
Lalita Thomas.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
sister.
very much, sister.
Our next guest is Mrs. Lalita Thamam, a retired teacher. Mrs. Lalita Thamam's journey in Loreto began in 1982 as a teacher in the junior schools. However, her association with Loreto started much earlier when she studied here for 6 years before going on to study at St. Joseph's Convent, Kalimpong. Miss taught in Loreto for 34 years. She has also been helping at the community level through her association with MARG, a local NGO. After her retirement, Mrs. Thamam joined the AIWC and Inner Wheel Club. At present, she's the secretary of IWC Darjeeling and board member of MARG. We welcome you, Miss, and we are very happy to have you with us today. So we shall go ahead with our questions, Miss. We would like you to share your experience as a student and then as a teacher in Loreto, Darjeeling. Miss, you have to kindly unmute yourself.
I'd like to congratulate the Loreto family on 175 years and celebrating in a grand way. Though we are doing virtual, it is a grand celebration. And thank you for inviting me today. Okay, as you have already said that I got my foundation in Loreto, Darjeeling, and I was very, very happy to be here. And as a little girl in 1962, I joined Loreto in class KG, and I was taken down by Mother Kevin to the junior school building. It was an old structure, but it had colorful tiles, red and white and yellow, all the colorful tiles. And I was very happy to see all that. And Mother Pauline was also there when I joined. I had a lovely time, but due to my health reasons, I had to leave and I had to go as a boarder to Kalimpong because it was much warmer. Because I used to get wet and I used to get sick all the time because I was a day scholar. Okay? And I would like to share that because we were very few in number at that time, we had a lovely classroom, well equipped. We had a playroom with lots of cars where we could get in and drive. And we had a painting room with easels. We were given lots of paints, colors, brushes, and we were given aprons to wear so that we would not dirty. Plastic waterproof aprons that we would so that we would not dirty our uniform. I love all that, and of course, beautiful dolls were there. I enjoyed every bit of it. And then as I joined I joined in 81 as a substitute teacher. Then I was appointed in 1982. as a teacher, as a permanent teacher. Okay, that time Sister Magdalene was there. I remember very, very, very well. Okay, and the working atmosphere was very good. Of course, I was new as a teacher. I was, like Sister Tina said, I was a little terrified, but we had stalwarts like Mrs. Ale, Mrs. Plant, Mrs. Cecilia Edwards, Miss Bidya Pradhan, who guided us so well, and we followed in their footsteps. Every little instruction, every little guidance, a word of advice, we listened to them. And all, whatever I have earned is all because of the sisters and my stalwarts who trained us. And I thank Sister Tina, whom I met twice during my service in Loreto. Sister Tina also sent me for the coordinators training to Calcutta with Mrs. Ale, Mrs. Plant, and Miss Vidya Pradhan, and that helped me very, very much. And I remember when I was teaching in class 1, I remember because last period used to be off for the class ones, and I used to go and play TT with the girls. And Miss Coppert was there, a PT instructor was there, and Sister Joseph Michael used to be in charge of the games. I remember her telling me, and she entered, in fact, she entered my name in the opens at Gymkhana Club to play table tennis. And I told her, sister, I don't have time, because I was already married and I had a 2.5-year-old son. And this is what she said to me: as, Lalita, time will not find you. You have to find time. Make time. I still remember. And she had a booming voice, if you remember her. Okay. Then, of course, Sister Christopher was the junior head when I joined. Then, of course, Sister Zenka, Sister Stephanie, sisters. They were sisters, and they were very good in sewing, knitting. And I still remember them making a dress for my daughter when she was 5 months old for her weaning ceremony, with all lace imported from abroad. Still remember, and I have still kept the dress. Sister Teresa, Sister Alice Mary. I will not forget Sister Alice Mary's lessons, computer lessons. Though we were terrified of her, but then we really learned, and she took the trouble, to even make tea for us, make sandwiches for us after the computer class. She used to serve us, and of course, she used to force us to eat also if we refused. Okay? Then, of course, the sisters had personal touch. They visited us when we were sick, or at home or in the hospital. When babies were born, they used to personally knit and gift us. And still remember, Sister Magdalene had knitted a lovely baby set for my daughter when she was born. Okay? And that is why we call ourselves Loreto family. We are not just teachers. We just don't work. We never felt that we were working for money. And of course, sisters always mentioned that teaching is a vocation and not a profession. And we followed that, true to the word. Okay? And of course, Loreto orientation programs for the teachers, we benefited a lot from them.
Thank you very much, Miss, for sharing your wonderful experience with the Loreto family. Now we shall move ahead with our last question, Miss. Would you like to give any message to the present staff and the students of Loreto family?
Yes, to the present children, I would like to say, even when I was teaching there, I used to tell the children to value education. Like, we taught value education, we had value education classes, but the children forget to value the education that they are receiving. And I would like again to repeat, please do value the education that you are receiving and do not take it for granted. The parents are making a lot of sacrifices for them to get educated in such a renowned school, and there are many who do not get an opportunity to join Loreto because the seats are very limited. And I would also like to tell them that there is a difference between being educated and being qualified. You can have degrees, but you don't carry your degrees around with you all the time. But education shows in your behavior, in your mannerisms, the way you talk, the way you dress, and the circle of friends. As soon as someone opens her mouth in public, people can judge which school she has, how well she has been educated. I still want to tell the children that. And to the present day teachers, though I have worked with many of them, and I'm very glad that there are many ex-students there in the staff now. I would like to say that the teachers must have an open mind. Open. I remember Brother Brendan, when he gave us one orientation in school, he had mentioned Om theory. Om theory is the open mind theory. Like, you are ready to accept anything, accept any changes, anything new. And the other theory was the ik theory. He said, I know, ik, ik. I know. That means if I know everything, I will not learn. My mind is not open. Okay? So the teachers must have an open mind to learn and accept changes, and then you will progress. Okay? Then Loreto is the proof that the sacrifice that we make, okay, will make us reach the goal. So we have to accept challenges. We have to, like when Sister Teresa and Sister Alice Mary trained us for the computer programs, that it was quite difficult for us in the beginning, but we accepted, like we have to learn. Okay, so that was something new. And now, because due to the pandemic, all the teachers have to learn the new techniques of online classes, Google Meet, Zoom, webinars, all that. So it is something that you are learning, isn't it? Okay. So I would like to tell the teachers today that Mary Ward had said, women in time to come will do much. Okay. Then I would like to add to it, behind every successful woman is a tribe of other successful women. And I am in this position because of all the successful sisters, the teachers I had, the guides, the friends, and I cherish the friends that I made in Loreto Convent Darjeeling. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Miss, for giving us such valuable messages for us and the Loreto family. Thank you once again. Now we shall move ahead with our next guest. Over to you, Ms. Prajulika Bharati.
Thank you, Miss. Our next guest is Mrs. Sonali Lahiri. Mrs. Sonali Lahiri was a boarder in Loreto Convent Darjeeling since 1963. She did her senior Cambridge in 1975. They were the last batch to do the senior Cambridge. Her association with Loreto continued as she completed her graduation and B.Ed from Loreto College, Calcutta. She joined the Teachers Training Department and worked there till 2006, after which she joined 2 business schools as Executive Director and Dean. She rejoined the Loreto Teachers Training Department in 2015 as Head of Department and retired in 2019. Mrs. Lahiri continues to train teachers online and conduct several workshops and webinars for teacher empowerment. Thank you, ma'am, for accepting our invitation. We are really honored to have you with us today.
Thank you very much. Before I begin, good morning to everybody. You're so lucky you're in Darjeeling. Good morning, Sister Sunila. Thank you, Sister Anita, and the team of teachers, especially Prajwalika, for keeping me informed about the proceedings of today. But more importantly, thank you for inviting me on this panel. It's been a privilege because for me, Sister Tina is my mentor. Because I have seen Sister Tina, as she said, as Mother David, right? And, from there, she moved on to become the principal of the college. Of course, when I joined in college, we had Sister May. But my journey with Loreto started in 1963 as a little girl, and we did not take, in Loreto, they did not take children, who were not 5+, and I was 4. But because there were some problems in the tea gardens, and those days there was a Naxalite problem in a garden called Naxalbari. And so my father thought it would be wise to keep me away from, such a situation. So my mother booked a little place, just above Bethany, and I would come down in a pony to school. And that pony was white, was a little pony, and I'd come in with other girls also, Carrie White and Lindsay White. And the pony was called Good Night, but we were, of course, on this white pony. But those are my early fond memories of Loreto Convent Darjeeling, and of course the nuns. I had Mother Teresa and Mother Rosario, and later we called Mother Rosario Cherry Nose because she was always red in the nose. They used to wheel me around in a pram because in the first year I did not study because I was too young, so I played. And I'd drink my milk in the pram because I had another friend who came in under difficult circumstances also, Shanaz Dinshaw. She was 3.5. And both of us would be sitting in the pram, and Mother Teresa and Mother Rosario in turn would be wheeling us around. And once in a while, they'd give us the bottle of milk that came in from Caventer's, right? I hated that milk because it was cold and I don't like milk at all. But Shanaz, my little friend, always had my bottle of milk. So that's my early memory of school. But when you say, what are your fond memories of a school? There's so many, it cannot be limited like this. But I am going to share some memories, definitely, of the sports days, the elocution competitions that we used to participate in, the fetes we used to organize, the plays, especially the musicals. And there was a special one which was, over the Yellow Brick Road, which Sister Alice Mary trained us for, especially the singing. And in that, I was the Tin Man. And the kind of practice that we went through to put up these plays, these musicals, I can't tell you the attention to detail that was given. And I think that is something that we will always carry in our heart because it was, they didn't call it excellence, but they showed us the way to excellence, definitely. The choir practice that we used to have, we were part of the choir, right? And on the day you had your mass, I got a vision of that spiral staircase that we used to climb up and sit there and practice. I didn't get to see the big organ that Mother Alacock used to play, and sometimes Mother Kenneth would play, because we were also their music students under the Trinity College of Music. But these are all memories, because come midnight mass for Easter, we would find it very special to be up late at night because we're boarders, and we would be singing for everybody on that day. So these are beautiful memories that we have. We also have some fun memories, because, the food that we ate in Loreto, I think it didn't fill us all the time because we were constantly hungry. We were so busy playing games and hockey and, going to North Point to play hockey at 6 o'clock in the morning, then coming back, having a breakfast. Sometime around 3:34, we'd get a little peckish. And we would actually tip our bearers, who were working with us, and they were very good to us boarders. Their names I must take because they really sustained me. Timmy and Chopsticks, right? We would send them up with the little money that we had. We never got very much pocket money, but we'd send them to the top shop. That's the shop at the back gate. And we would get bun anda. For us hostelites, for us boarders, that bun anda was so special. I can't tell you, it's better than any pizza that you buy today, any cake that you buy, that bun anda, and a flaming orange aloo dum that came with a puri. Right? And so these were the bearers who used to help us and keep us fed either in the dining room or also outside the dining room. We also got a chance to see lovely films because we were boarders. The nuns made it very evident that they were, educating us not only through our academics, but also through our reading, the library, and also through films. We would watch beautiful films, of course, Far from the Madding Crowd and all these other ones, real classics, War and Peace. But the best friend that we ever had was Lazarus. And Lazarus, actually, the next day we'd be waiting outside his little cabin because he'd give us little cuttings of. He was very scissor happy. Naturally, he had to edit a whole lot of the parts of the film. So he would give us those little cuttings, and we'd hold it against the sunlight and watch the parts that he had snipped, so cleverly for us. But how can you forget and have not have fond memories of the socials because we were boarders? The day scholars went home and they ate home food. They went out with their parents. We didn't have any of that. So our first exposure to outings and things like that was actually the crocodile, the queue that we used to make when we went up to Chaurasta. And the other was the socials. And you could go to the socials when you're in class 11, the senior Cambridge class. And I can't tell you that trunk and the hold all that we used to bring from the house, it kind of had everything that we needed for the year. That defined us actually, the trunk and the hold all, and it would go down somewhere in a storeroom and it would come up just before the December holidays where we would pack and then leave for 3 months because of the weather. But the socials was something that the nuns introduced us to, and we had a great time. We thought, that we fell in love with just about every person that we met, but it wasn't really that. It was just an opportunity to mingle with other schools, especially North Point and St. Paul's. And in that, actually, we gave them nicknames, because North Point would always come in casual wear, whereas St. Paul's would come in their uniform, even for a social, right? And so we call them chhatawalas because they're defined by a big umbrella that they always carried as part of their uniform. So there are so many memories. And, it's the nuns, and I'm so grateful for the nuns that we've had in those days that groomed us so beautifully. Mother Dolores for my Trinity College speech and drama examinations. She also taught us ballet. And we learned that for a very short while. And the skating rink that you have, I remember holding on to the bars, first it was the ballet and the pirouetting, all that. And then later on, it turned into a skating rink. And then we would be skating and we were taught how to skate and were very good at it, enjoyed ourselves. If you notice, all the things that I've mentioned are actually every single thing that is non-academic. And they were fun, but they also made us who we are. Even if we are not practicing all the things we were very good at school, but it changed us. It really changed us a lot. And so these are the early experiences that I can think of. And I would like to thank all the nuns who have also gone on. Because when I first joined as a young girl in 1963, when I was only 4, I thought the nuns, because they were always in a habit and I could only see their face, I thought they were little penguins. Because I may have had an association at home with little penguins. So these are my memories. There is a flood of those memories. But for now, I think I'll stop here because you can't put a teacher, you don't give a teacher a mic because she never knows when to stop. So I will stop here. Prajwalika.
Thank you, ma'am. It was lovely to hear your memories of school days. And ma'am, let me tell you, the top shop is still there and you still get the flaming orange aloo.
Great.
Moving on to the next question, ma'am. Ma'am, what values did Loreto instill in you and how did it help you in life?
That's a lovely question, and it always keeps me thinking. Um, the value for me personally, I'm talking about this, is what I learned in school that though they didn't teach it literally, out of a textbook or anything, but the value of the other, and we never did anything alone, quite frankly. And I think that's where I was able to imbibe this value for the other. It has really stood me in very good stead in my professional world because you take everyone along with you. And because of the activities that I mentioned, and there must be so many more that I have left out, it is actually with the other that we were able to grow, especially because we are borders. Our stories are the same. We all leave home and we come with this trunk and a hold all, and we make our lives together. And so it is the other that actually sustains you, and that has really stood me in very good stead as a core value. The other thing, Prajwalika, that I'd like to share with everybody is, Sister Tina says that she was very strict. So does, a lot of the teachers there, a lot of the other nuns were also very strict. But it ingrained in me a strong sense of discipline, right? And a huge respect for time. Because while we were in school and we were living our lives in school along with the day scholars because they come and leave, that time to play, time to eat, time to, even sit on the slope with the hydrangeas, and just relax and soak in the winter sun, all of that has developed in me a very big respect for time. I don't wish to be late for any program. I don't wish to be late giving up any assignment. I don't wish to be late. I think that has been instilled in me thanks to the Loreto sisters and their very strong sense of discipline. So while sister says she's strict, I think I respect that very much because it disciplines the mind also. And the other thing that I would like to share here is what is it, that is a value is the nuns actually brought out the best in you without you realizing it. They paid so much attention to your speech, to your pronunciation. What a lot of practice they gave, for all of these things, your grooming, your handwriting. Even the letters that we wrote home were on inland sheets, and there are three sides, right? To an inland sheet, the letter would be written on the board with the most beautiful handwriting, which naturally we would try to emulate. And we'd have the same message, dear mommy and daddy, and then the message would be the same. The only creative part that the nuns left us with was the part that you could draw for your parents. And I can't tell you, when I look at the way my mother has saved these letters, I see the kind of dedication that they put into our holistic development. And I think those are values that will always remain with us forever. We may have left Loreto. I retired in 2019, as you mentioned, but the Loreto in me has never left and it never will. Thank you, Prajwalika, for that question.
Thank you, ma'am. And ma'am, the last question. Would you like to give a message to the present students of Loreto Darjeeling?
I don't know whether I'm qualified actually to give a message for the students today because times have changed. They're a digital generation and I'm a digital refugee. I'm actually a digital dinosaur, if you can ask me. But I would actually like to say no matter what changes take place, whether we go virtual or we are back in class, there are certain things that will remain as a Loreto core value that we need to carry forward despite these changes and challenges that we face, right? One of them that I'd like to share is believe in yourself because that's what that education is all about. You will not realize it while you're doing it, but when you step out, and we have our lovely Loreto chorus that says, and when our school days ended are, and our varied paths divide, it's the high ideals that actually live on with us. So believe in yourself. Everything that is being done by the staff, by the nuns, there actually is to help you become a better you. right? So that is one. The other thing is, when the mass was going on, I saw three key words there which I really love. Remember, rejoice, and reach out. Now, for me, what stood out in these three key words was remember. Remember that you are a Loreto girl. This is for the students. You are a Loreto girl. How does that define you? Because your report card does not define you at all. Your marks don't tell you who you really are. You're much bigger than those marks. But what really defines you is the crest that the IBVM sisters have given each one of us who have passed through their hands. What is that crest? That crest says Maria Regina Angelorum, Mary Queen of Angels, Cruci dum Spiro Fido. While I live, I believe in the cross. And we come from varied faiths. We're all not Catholics or Christians. We come from varied faiths, but that's the crest that they have shared with us. And if you look at it deeply, and I would like all students to understand the meaning of that crest and carry it with them wherever they go, there's the heart of Jesus, there's the heart of Mother Mary, there's an anchor, right? All of these are symbols of how we are to carry our cross forward. We are going to face challenges. In fact, this particular time is a very challenging time. But how we bear that cross is very dependent on who we are and how we are growing. So that for me is remember. Remember that crest, because that's the responsibility that the sisters have given us to carry forward. Another one is rejoice. Rejoice in all your shared experiences. If the more you share your experiences, the more you collaborate with one another and with your community in Darjeeling, you are going to learn and you're going to grow. And the last one was reach out. And I'd like to say this is really, really beautiful, because this is the time to reach out to everybody. For all students and anybody who's part of the Loreto family, have a heart filled with love, because that's the need of the hour. Thank you so much, Prajwalika, for allowing me to share my memories and what I would like the children to know today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. It was an absolute pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you.
And now we have our last guest, Ms. Dr. Chitan D. Sherpa, and I hand it over to my co-host, Ms. Sundama Chetri.
But not least, Sherpa with us today. Joined Loreto Convent Darjeeling in kindergarten and passed out in 2004. They were the first batch to appear for ISC. She did her MBBS from Medical College, Kolkata, and MD, Pediatrics from VMCC and Safdarjung Hospital, New Delhi. For the past 4 years, she has been working at the District Hospital, Darjeeling, as a pediatrician.
Voice is breaking up a little. Am I audible?
Yes,
So, first of all, I'd like to mention how elated I am to be a part of the 175 years after having been a part of the 150 year celebration when I was in school. I was in class 6. So, when you ask about memories, a number of different images flash. Walking down to the grotto, the garden, the sundial in the garden. Like Sister Sonali mentioned, the
Dr. Chetan might be experiencing some network issues. She might be joining in again. Yes, Dr. Chetan. Could you please unmute yourself, Doctor?
Yeah. Am I audible? Hello, am I audible? So I think what I remember very this thing is that how utterly carefree and protected we were in Loreto, and I think no one ever feels that carefree and that protected after you once you leave school. I also remember my friends, the maple tree near the church, so many things. So there's not one memory I can share actually. There's so many images that flash by when you asked, I think Subnima, you can move on to the next question.
So moving ahead with your second question, what value does Loreto?
Okay, so my childhood and Loreto. So I cannot differentiate what parts of me are Loreto and what are not. Loreto is in the way I speak, in the way I dress, and everything. So I think the values of compassion and empathy. These are the two values which help me help people better. Okay, so.
Giving us this wonderful value. So moving ahead with our last question. Any advice you would like to give to the present students of Loreto? Hello, ma'am. Are you able to hear my voice?
Yes. I think I'm having some problems.
Yes, ma'am. Network issues. My last question, ma'am. Any advice you would like to give to the present students of Loreto?
So I would like to say is that school is such a place where you can try so many extracurricular activities in one place. So my advice to you, to the present students, would be to not only concentrate on your studies, but to participate in as many extracurriculars as you can. You never know what you turn out to be good at. So that's that. And I would also like to say that when you're preparing for exams, or they'll be having this thing, don't think too much about your cutoffs and what you need to achieve. Just do your best in whatever you can, whatever you're doing, what, be it studies, be it art, be it singing, whatever you're doing, do your best, and I'm sure you will reach somewhere at least. And lastly, I would like to say that don't take it too seriously. It all works out in the end. So even if you're having a failure once or twice, don't take it too seriously. In the end, I promise you it works out. So that's it.
For your valuable advice, and thank you very much for taking out such in your busy schedule. Thank you very much, ma'am, once again.
Thank you.
And I'd like to thank all our guests for and being here with us. I now request our principal, Sister Nita, to kindly give the vote of thanks.
Good afternoon, everyone. Know and acknowledge the gift of God and thank Him for them, Mary Watt. With much gratitude, we remember the past, we rejoice in the present with everyone, and we reach out to the needs of the future. As we celebrate 175 years of Loreto in Darjeeling, I would like to express my gratitude to everyone associated with the school, our sisters, our past peoples, our staff, our parents, and students. A very special thank you to our esteemed guests, Sister Tina, Mrs. Lalita Tamang, Mrs. Sonali Lahiri, and Dr. D. Sharpa for accepting our invitation and sharing your experiences and memories with us today. It was a pleasure to have you with us today. Thank you so much, and the memories that you have brought forward to us. A special thank you to our technical team, Ms. Dipti Pradhan, Mr. Anurag Thapa, and Mr. Malla and his team, and to our organizing team, Ms. Prajalika Bharati and Ms. Sumnima Chetri. Thank you so much. And we're wishing everyone happy pujas. May the Almighty protect you and your loved ones. Be safe and happy holidays. Thank you. One and all.
One and all.
Thank you, sister. Before we end the talk show with a holiday hymn followed by the Loreto chorus, I would just request all our guests to kindly switch on the camera so that we can have a group photograph, a virtual group photograph. Thank you.
Dr. Chitan.
Okay, just a minute. Okay, ready. Thank you. We will now end the talk show with the holiday hymn followed by the Loreto chorus. Once again, it is a pleasure to have you all with us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Have a good day and happy pujas.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much. And
you.
God
Thank you
bless
for
each one
having
of you
us.
for your 175 years.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.